I love your style, and I really look forward to our listeners getting a chance to hearing your message and getting to know you if they don't already know you.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to hear the American accent again, by the way. I'm from Chicago, but I live in Australia for the last 28 years. The thing is that, I have a different kind of approach like you guys, on how health, I started all my seminars and speaking engagements in the health industry because I used to train Steven Seagal and Chuck Norris and Morgan Fairchild and get people ready for shows. And then I realized that the reason I was getting the results is I was adding the personal development into it, because wherever your head goes, your body follows. And so then it really branched me off into that. But I've helped people cure themselves of cancer, and a guy 2 years ago cured him of Tourette's syndrome, and a woman who was diagnosed schizophrenic with 7 personalities harmonized her into one person, and 20 years later she's still one person. Because your body is a manifestation of the thought. That's the neat thing, is if you were born and you never started thinking, well, life would never began. So the body doesn't think, because if it did, once you died, it would still be thinking. But the body, matter of fact, the Bible, I'm not religious. My mom was Jewish. My dad was Christian. I was just confused. Like, what are these people doing together? Luckily, it didn't last long. But it says that the flesh is formed from the word. Well, words are thoughts. So, every time that I've worked with people, I just give them a new image of what to see. So there was a fitness trainer here on the Gulf, here in Brisbane, rather, and he called me up and said, I got really aggressive cancer, man. I got 30% chance of survival. And I said, now is not the time to feel bad. Now is the time to kick into gear, man. Anybody can feel bad. Now, by the way, is feel bad after you die. But until then, you got to put the fight on. And he told me after he cured himself, he said, I called up looking for sympathy, but then I realized who I was calling, and that wasn't going to happen. But man, if that wasn't the call that I needed, within 4 months, he cured himself of cancer. I said, man, if there's 30% chance, be the 30%. If there's a 1%, be the 1%. If nobody's ever done it, be the first. By the way, hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution, human beings have wanted to fly. And then you got 2 bicycle repairmen who figured it out. The Wright brothers, Yeah. Well, the law of aerodynamics always existed. They just figured out how to utilize it, right? So it's the same thing. If nobody's ever done it before, be the first. Somebody's got to be the first.
I don't even know necessarily if Chuck realizes this, but he saved my life on the day that I hit rock bottom for the second time. And I've replayed that in my mind over and over again. We were on my wave runner, and our buddy's sister was in between us, and I let her wear the life jacket so that if something happened, at least she would be okay. But I have a routine of plugging that emergency release key is attached to that life jacket. But since she was wearing it, I just had it on my hand, and I just had it plugged in and didn't even have it on my hand. And I flew off so hard that I broke a couple of my ribs, and I was in the middle of the bay in very deep water. And luckily, Chuck somehow stayed on the back of this wave runner, and that thing would have been gone. And I very well might have drowned that day. And I don't think I don't think it took me a while to really realize that, just how much every tiny little thing that happens in our life is just so amazingly connected. And until you take the time to look back or even look forward or look in the present to see that, it's hard to recognize. But I've gone through this really incredible spiritual journey with the help of plant medicine over the past couple of years, and Chuck has joined me in that too. And it's funny because you say I'm not religious. I didn't believe in God before I took ayahuasca, and I met what I believe was the creator in some other dimension. And after the second time I did it, I had the Holy Spirit enter my body and immediately accepted Jesus as my savior. And 2 days before that, I was running around telling everybody that this is a fairy tale. So, what's amazing to me is that now you talk about manifestation and how your words have power. I am now on this journey of whatever I want to happen, as long as it's a good thing for the universe. If I think it happens. I've elevated to this really weird place where when I have a thought, it happens. Like and now, I'm at this new company. I'm in real estate, and I've done that my whole life, and I kind of was a lone wolf. But now, the universe plopped me down with this military-owned, veteran-based team that's also Christian, but accepting of all faiths. Just like, we hope you believe in something. And since I got here, I'm like, I'm going to be the CEO of this company. And at first, people are like, "Who does this guy think he is?" And it's funny because there's a big joke going on that we have that they have to be careful that this doesn't become the Joel show. And now everybody, but basically what has happened is the people who are saying that they have the wrong intention. They're threatened by me. But what they're creating with their own words is the Joel show. And it is becoming the Joel show to the point where I'm not in the meetings and people are messaging me saying that they're talking about the Joel show again. But it's, they're, whether they realize it or not, I'm going to be the CEO. The only thing that's going to happen is that I might not accept it when they offer it to me.
The amazing thing is everybody is creating what they think about. Unfortunately, people are thinking about what they don't want, and they're creating lots of it. It's the same frequency. And by the way, I know there's a higher power. I just don't have a religion for it. That doesn't really need to be. When my buddy Mike died in my arms, he was 29 years old. I was in a helicopter crash on a Chuck Norris film, and 5 guys died. I had to escort Mike's soul into the light. So I had to learn how to do an out-of-body experience because he was visiting for like 2 years. And I wasn't the only person seeing him. I just saw him the most. And then he wanted me to find a way so he could say goodbye to his fiancée. And, and that was in between me putting drugs up my nose and a gun in my mouth every night because I had survivor guilt because I couldn't save my friends. And somehow I lived and the rest of those things. And then finally figured out how to get that connection happen. And she called me 6 o'clock the next morning and woke me up and said, "Mike spent the whole night with me and we said everything we needed to say. And he said, you sent him, and we said our goodbyes." And so then I had to do the out of body thing with him again and escort him into the light. And it is God, even science, by the way, for people who are more into science, is science and religion actually says the same thing, is that God's omnipresent everywhere all at the same time. He can't be destroyed or created. He just is. He's the creation of himself. Energy is everywhere, omnipresent, equally proportioned, can't be destroyed or created. So they're really saying the same thing. And, the one thing that we have is creative thought. So whatever, like my dog, I have a blue heeler. It's an Australian cattle dog, very smart, but it can't make its own dog house, right? Well, that's because it doesn't have the creative thought. We can. And so our thoughts change the energy around us, and energy is always trying to go into form, So like I have a 14-acre farm, and you can mow this thing down to dirt and poison it and whatever. Next year, by the way, it's consumed with weeds again. It's just because it's always trying to take form. So I love your story, man. It's inspirational. And sometimes, it's like the helicopter crash for me made me live. Because when when you're 27 years old and your buddy dies 29 years old in your arms, you realize from a beautiful sunny day how quickly shit can hit the fan and it come crashing down. That every day since then has been borrowed time. And I fill my entire day with my whole life. It's because if I don't get tomorrow, I live today.
Yeah. Well, we've dabbled in the out of body experience too. I don't know if you've heard of Monroe Institute. You must have if you're talking about out of body thing. But I do that quite frequently, and I've noticed that since I started doing that, just these weird things happen in real life. Like I don't know where I was last night, but I was changing something on this dimension.
Welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast, your ultimate path to holistic health, wellness, and success. Discover the powerful fusion of Eastern wisdom and Western science, designed to balance your mind, body, and spirit. Our channel brings you holistic wellness practices, effective strategies to boost productivity, and insights on stress reduction and active aging. Join our global community and transform your life with holistic wellness. Cheers to a healthier, happier you.
Welcome, listeners, to the Masters of Wellness podcast. My name is Edward Kurtzen. I'm joined by co-hosts Chuck, the Cat Whisperer, and JC, Joel as well. Thank you so much for joining, mate. Today, we're going beyond quick fixes to uncover the mindset and tools that create deep, permanent transformation with the help of Kurek Ashley, known worldwide as the Transformer. Kurek Ashley is a sought-after success coach, peak performance expert and best-selling author who has spent decades helping people achieve their biggest dreams and break through every barrier. I first saw Kurek speaking in Australia about 20 years ago, and the knowledge still lives in me. I would go as far as saying one of the reasons I'm living where I live and doing what I do stems from the fire that was ignited during that workshop. Kurek, your journey from Hollywood to international transformation coach is quite legendary. We started to tap into some of the stories just now. Let's maybe keep that conversation going and go back to those early days, that pinnacle moments or the paradigm shift that happened for you where you realized you are put in this universe to help people.
Thanks, Edward. When you say 20 years ago, I've always wanted to be that guy. Like, how do you have that kind of reputation? Now people go, hey, I went to your workshop when I was a teenager. I'm like, yeah, thanks. That stings a little bit. But, I thought my whole life since I was like 12 years old that I wanted to be an actor because I just didn't want my life to be average. I wanted to get out there and do something. So I lied about my age. And I got on stage at Second City, where Saturday Night Live comes from. It's the creator of improv comedy. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Jim Belushi, they all started at Second City. And then 18, moved to LA. Yeah, I guess my story with Delta Force is quite known as I was in a helicopter crash on a Chuck Norris film where 5 of my friends died. That was a bad day at work. But the real transformation, I think, there's so many of those nuggets along the way, some of those signposts, where you're diverting your path or changing your path. But the biggest came from, I auditioned on a Saturday for Walt Disney Studios. Now, by the way, you never audition on a Saturday for a major studio. It just never happens. It's weird that they even ask you. But they said, we need the character. We got to start shooting next week. So we're going to tell you by Tuesday if you got the job or not. And by the way, it's like the Mighty Ducks Part 4.
Oh.
I've never even seen 3, so I don't know if 4 ever even came out. But anyways, and it's the lead bad guy, but you can imagine the 4th sequel down. This is not going to be rocket science or Shakespeare. And so I audition. Tuesday comes by. Don't hear anything because Hollywood doesn't care. They don't call you and say, sorry, mate, you didn't get the job. You just don't hear nothing. And I've learned how to just let it go. Do the audition, forget about it. So Thursday, I go to Georgia. I'm flown to Georgia to do a workshop for all the youth of this entire community and, change their lives and inspire them. And, it's just really great. I'm staying at a family's house until Sunday. And then I decide, hey, I should check my answering machine. And I do. And it's Disney saying, it's my agent saying, hey, congratulations, you got the job. Now, by the way, the first call's on Thursday, the day I left for Georgia. And they say, it says, hey, you got the job. We'll see you on the set tomorrow. Wait a minute, it's Sunday. And by the 40th message, it's now from congratulations to you, low-life piece of garbage. I'll make sure you never work in this town again. Okay, but by the way, guys, I auditioned. I didn't say I'd take the job.
Right.
I didn't sign any contract, so there's just people assuming that you're a desperate actor and you'll take whatever's handed to you. And so in that moment, first thing you do is you feel all this anxiety kick up, And then I thought about it for a moment. I said, which one of these 2 things would you have rather done? And I go, change people's lives. And then the next question is, why'd you ever become an actor? And I realized that I thought if I got famous, somebody would want to hear me speak. But when you play bad guys, nobody really wants to hear you speak. And so I realized that I was doing this roundabout way to get to where I want to get instead of just go direct. And so I just really started putting all my energy into doing what I do and just kind of walked away from the movie industry because it was such a dual message, when I'm out teaching personal development and then playing really horrendous bad guys in movies, which message, am I being responsible for? Because it's a real mixed messaging system. And just walked away. And once I let go of Hollywood, my career and my business went through the roof because I wasn't dual focused and I was doing truly what I'm passionate about. And still to this day, thousands and thousands of speaking engagements later, I'm more passionate than ever, because I can tell you without a doubt, it definitely works, because it's based in physics and science, cause and effect. If you do these things, you get those results.
Kurek, you kind of brushed over a few famous names there. I heard Steven Seagal, I heard Chuck Norris, a few others. You want to maybe just share some of those like early days and some of those people that you've met and what the interactions were? Because you're talking about the 80s and 90s movie stars who were idols of ours. We got three guys here that watched all of that stuff.
Sure. Well, I used to train Steven Seagal and his wife, Kelly LeBrock, in the gym. In those days, Steve was like pencil. He was pencil thin in those days, and had never done a movie yet. Now it looks like he's eaten three opponents. It's huge. But I'd get people ready for shows in those days. One of my claims to fame is
Fairchild.
Morgan Fairchild. Thank you. And Morgan, beautiful lady. So she was awesome. I used to train Tony Robbins and teach all the health and fitness at Life Mastery, and for 5 years. Chuck Norris, I was doing Delta Force with him, and Chuck said, "Hey, Kurek, if you train me in the gym, I'll teach you martial arts." I'm like, game on. Well, I was 27. Chuck was 51. I blocked every one of his punches and kicks with my head, body, or wherever else he wanted to place those things. Yeah. And he had me hold like 3 foot of pads, and he did that spinning roundhouse kick and sent me 10 feet through the air. And, I hit the wall so hard, and he looked at me and he goes, "Okay, 4 more of those. We're going to the strong leg." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "What? You can't take it?" And I said, "No, man, if I get knocked out by you, this is going to be awesome." Real gentleman, great guy, take you out for a beer. And I got to tell you, when you go out and have a beer with Chuck Norris, you kind of hope a bar fight's going to break out, because you just want to see him in action. But I can think one of my favorite stories is that we used to use his stunt double when we were doing Delta Force to go get free beers in the Philippines, because he looks face on just like Chuck Norris. His name's Kenny Gibson. And so Chuck hears about it, and he goes, "Hey, want to go out with you guys this weekend, have a beer?" And we're like, "I don't know if that's a great idea, Chuck. See, we've been getting free beers saying that Kenny's you." And he goes, "Well, just say I'm Kenny." And we're like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." So the club's like got 2,000 people. And they go, "Ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Norris and his stunt double." And they point to Chuck Norris, "Kenny Gibson." And so we got free beers, and he loved it. He goes, "You guys are a classic, man. Anything to get a free beer."
Oh, that's great.
But I've also known Sly Sylvester Stallone since I was 18. His best friend is John Hersfeld. He's my Mr. Miyagi. He's an award-winning writer-director. He discovered a woman named Charlize Theron and put her in her first movie called 2 Days in the Valley. John's also did movies with Robert De Niro. He discovered Patricia Arquette, Dermot Mulroney. He gave Sandra Bullock her first line in the movie. And John's was my Mr. Miyagi. He raised me since I was 18 years old, and he was Sly's roommate in college, and still to this day, they're the very best of friends. They're as close as two men can be without being gay.
That's hilarious. What got you over to Australia?
I was working with Tony Robbins, and somebody asked me to save their business. They said they sold children's educational products. They actually sold encyclopedias door to door. They forgot to mention that part. So I was going around the entire country training all their salespeople. Now, by the way, this is 1997 when the internet's coming in. Nobody wants books anymore, but I took the company to be successful. They never paid me for a year and left me homeless in a sheep shear shed in New South Wales in a place called Griffith, which is not a glamorous little town, and made my way back to Brisbane. Now I'm homeless in 2 countries because I can't even fly home to be homeless. So I figured you might as well do what you teach and turn on the engines, and go for it. And so I started doing free speaking engagements to promote a paid one so I could make enough money to get out of here. At one of those free speaking engagements, I happen to say, for some weird reason, "Who here remembers the person who stood on the 3rd box at the Olympics?" Anybody rush out to buy your book thinking, "Oh, gee, how'd you get 3rd?" And a woman stands up. She goes, I was on the third friggin' box at the Olympics. I go, ma'am, I wasn't picking on you. I don't even know who you are. And she said, no, I'm pissed off because everything you said was true. She said, my name's Natalie Cook. I won bronze at the Atlanta Olympics for beach volleyball. Will you take me to win gold at Sydney? And so for the next 2.5 years, I worked at the women's Australian beach volleyball team, and we won the gold medals at the Sydney Olympics, which became the #1 most exciting event at the 2000 Olympics. And I've been here ever since. Not a bad job, though, guys. Girls in bikinis, and they paid me for it.
Yeah. And Kurek, at the beginning, I said that there was a pivotal moment in your workshop that lit a fire in me. It's to do with the story of Natalie Cook and Kerry. You taught about visualization. There's something that you did with them regarding visualization. Do you want to just remind everyone about what that was?
Sure. Well, again, our results are always going to be in direct proportion to our own self-image, right? So the life that we live is actually our minimum standard. We all live at the minimum standard. Like when I was in my 20s, I used to live in my car. Now that I'm a dad, that's unacceptable. So your self-image changes. There's no way in hell you're going to live in your car with your kid. You're not going to happen, right? So our self-image is directly connected. So if you think about this as our roof or our ceiling, our results, we want to elevate our results. Well, we got to elevate our self-image. And the way that we're going to do that is through references, because references turn a thought into a belief. And by the way, we have references for how things are going to fail, goals that we tried that didn't work out. And that's what most people are talking about. Oh, I've tried something, didn't work out. Look at the other people, how they're failing. But as visionaries, we come up with the references for the times when we faced adversity and it worked out. And by the way, it doesn't have to be gold medals or best-selling author. It could be anything. I asked that girl out, even though I was terrified. She said yes. Well, if it works here, it will work here. And so that's the reference. And so with the beach volleyball girls, Carrie called me up one day. And by the way, Carrie wasn't always the most sensitive of people. We used to call her the unit because she was kind of like a Terminator. And she goes, okay, Mr. Friggin' Positive. That was her affectionate name for me. She said, why is your goal setting any better than our goal setting? And I said, I don't even understand your question. And she said, well, we went for gold in Atlanta and got bronze. So why is going for gold with you any different? I said, we're not going for gold. We're going for diamond platinum. She goes, there is no diamond platinum. I said, oh, but there is. Best-selling authors, Australian Order of Merit, Hall of Famers, multimillionaires. That's what we're going for. We're going to blow through the gold medal to get what you really want. But if you're just going for the gold medal, you might bounce off it and get less. So the thing that we're going to have to do is change your self-image. And so I made them buy display cases for their gold medals 2.5 years before the Olympics. As I said, if you really thought you were a gold medalist, wouldn't you have a display case to show those medals off in? They go, well, we'll get them after we win. I go, see, now you're saying if, not I am. See, there's a big difference. There's one character, by the way, gentlemen, who's in all 3 books. He's in the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. His name is Moses. Jesus even talked about Moses. Moses, by the way, Moses didn't talk about Jesus because Jesus wasn't alive yet. Moses is the only character that actually sees and talks to God. And when he asks God, what's his name, so I can spread the word, God says, it's so powerful. You got to be very careful with this. And finally, when he tells him, he says, I am who I am. It's the most powerful thought you can have. It's who you say you are. It's your identity. And so a gold medalist would have a display case for gold medals. And I made him practice the national anthem every day because I don't want to go up there and you don't know the lyrics, you look like an idiot. Also, they had to practice getting their gold medals and waving to the audience. Practice it over and over and over again. They had to sign autographs. 2,000 gold medalists. And people were looking at their watch going, but it's 1998. How are you 2,000 gold medalists already? We did it so often that we were 5 points behind at match point against the best team in the world, the Brazilians. We had faced them 17 times, 16 out of 17. They beat us bad. One time we barely won. So most people would have the belief system, it's not going to work here either. But now my girls go, we're the gold medalist. They turned on the energy. They got the stadium on their feet. Even the Brazilian fans were caught up in it. They didn't even know what they were doing anymore. And point by point, we took it away from the Brazilians 2 matches in a row and came home with the gold medals. It was the battle royal. But see, that's that moment when instead of saying, shoot, it's over, I'm a gold medalist, they're willing to do just a little bit more than the rest of the field is willing to do. And by the way, that's everybody in life. All your results, they're that far away from where you are. It's just a change. And that would come from seeing yourself, that visualization of who you are. So, Edward, the people are always asking me, what should I do? I go, don't focus on what to do. Focus on who to be. It's the be, do, have model. You know, when you're being that person, you'll automatically do the things that that person does, and that will produce the results. But most people are waiting for the money to come in the bank. Then I'm going to be wealthy. Well, no, you're saying you're a poor person now, and poor people don't do wealthy actions. They keep doing unwealthy actions and they keep being poor. Or once I lose the weight or once I cure myself of the cancer or disease, then I'm going to be healthy. No, you got to be the healthy person now, because then you'll act as the healthy person and that will produce the result that you want. So it's always in this direction. It doesn't go that way. It's challenging to put into place because we have to go up against our own conditioned patterns, right? So our old habits. But it's so simple. But honestly, creation in the universe is easy. Like, for instance, if you're a parent, the sex to have the child is supposed to be fun. Why did the universe give us orgasm? There's no purpose for it to have kids. Well, that's so that we continue to have a species. You know, it's so powerful that makes us want to do it again. Yeah. Then the mom doesn't have to find spleen and kidneys and eyeballs and glue them together. Creation just happens. But only mankind has made success, and I mean holistic success in all areas of your life, hard. My dad was Polish descent, first generation American. His whole thing was, if you want to succeed in life, you got to work hard. And he did. And he got a hard life. Because how is hard ever going to be one day turn into easy? That doesn't make any sense. So they say, plant tomatoes and you think you're going to get corn. It's not going to happen. So near his death, he said, Kurek, I should listen to you. Man, you seem to have a lot more fun and you make way more money than I do. Matter of fact, in 1 year, you made more than I made my entire life. I should listen to you. And I said, Dad, you used to think I was lazy. I'm not. I want to enjoy my life now and be successful, because that's called the abundant thought. I want this and that, not this or that, which is a scarce thought.
When you said talking there about fun, I mean, I'm noticing that at this company that I'm with, there's 280 people. We're all in this Slack channel and everything is so serious. And I tell everybody, I'm like, I'm going to go in the Matrix, and I go up on there. And I'm like the only person that's trying to have fun. I mean, they're talking so serious, and then I post a stupid meme. I'm like, why are we like? If you just enjoy this, it will come easy for you. But if you make it work, it will definitely be work.
That's, Joe, 100%, because your brains, so there's 2 parts of your mind, right? There's the inductive mind, there's the deductive mind. The inductive, introducing new things to it, that would be your conscious mind. The deductive mind is your subconscious mind, which has access to all of your nervous system, all of your functions, all of your decision making. That's the most powerful part of your brain. Well, there's a part of that brain, of that mind, by the way, that it's always making what's called a neuroassociation, and it's part of the fight or flight system. Is if I perceive it to feel good or good for me, you want to do more of it. If it's perceived to be painful or bad, you want to avoid it. So that when we self-sabotage, that means somehow we're projecting that changing is more painful than staying where we are. Probably because we're projecting, God, what if I get it and I don't get to keep it? Or somebody asked me a question and I can't answer it, or whatever it is. So they go back to their comfort zone, even though consciously they want that, but subconsciously it's linked up to more pain than staying where they are. And what we got to do is reverse those poles. But the key is to acknowledge yourself for everything you're doing approximately right. So if you want to lose weight, and I don't care if you lose 1 gram of fat, celebrate, because then your brain links up pleasure to it, and it wants to do more of it, and it kicks into what's called your automatic success mechanism. It's functions of the brain that are just naturally in there. So everything I teach is based in this science, because motivation is fluffy. You get all hyped up and pumped up, and you go home and you're your same old self. Nothing changed. And here in Australia, by the way, Edward will tell you is, when I tell people to celebrate, they go, "We're not Americans. We don't do the hyped up thing." It's not American hype. It's the way the brain functions. If you make it feel good, you want to do more of it. If you perceive, and by the way, the key word is perception, because there is no truth. There's only an interpretation. My brother Steve, I love my brother. He's a great guy. He's quite angry. My brother Steve, you could hand him a free bar of gold. He'd complain you got to carry it to the bank.
Okay.
Do it really? And you probably have to pay tax on it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's free, man. So it's not, there's no truth. There's only an interpretation. Me, I celebrate everything. I got ripped off in Singapore. I sold out the indoor stadium, and the promoters, literally, I got on the plane, stopped payment on a check for $250,000 in cash. I got home and I found out, and I was like, I celebrated. People go, "Why are you celebrating?" I go, "I'm at a place in life where you could rip me off at that level."
Right.
And they go, "What?" I go, "I used to live in my car, man. So if I sold it out, and all these people's lives I've changed, and all the rest of these things. But by the way, if I focus backwards to be angry, I can only create limited. If I focus forward on my future, I can create limitless. 250 grand, great. What it did, it made me create a better security system in my business so it doesn't happen again. Beyond that, because anytime you have a problem in business, it just shows you we're going to put a new system in. And so I celebrated. I'm like, God bless you, man. You could have made millions off of me, and you ripped me off at 250 grand. Not the smartest of thieves, but God bless you.
Correct. There was a moment during your workshop in, I believe it was probably Brisbane or Gold Coast. It was 20 years ago, but you were standing on stage. You had a whiteboard and a flip chart, and you had this big Ziploc bag full of pens, whiteboard pens and permanent markers. They were all like the secondhand ones that you've been using over the years, and they're all in this big bag. And you were holding this bag, and you pulled out a pen, and you started to write, and it didn't work. So you stopped, and you threw it on the stage. And then you reached in the bag, you pulled out another pen, you opened it, you started to write, nothing. And you did this, no kidding, probably 4 or 5 times. Finally, you lifted up this Ziploc bag. It had probably 50 pens in it. And you walked over to the garbage bin and you threw it in the garbage bin. And then you went to I think it was your briefcase, and you opened up and you pulled out a new pen. Now, at that moment, you didn't say anything, but the message you were sharing during that workshop was about don't hold on to things that are not serving your purpose. So like you've talked a lot about what to look forward to, how to visualize, how to be before you are, so on. But there's also that other side, those things that are holding you back or not serving your purpose. Do you want to maybe talk to that a little?
Wow, Edward, I would say you definitely remember that workshop. By the way, I still have a bag like that of my markers, and I still use flip charts because I've seen speakers get crippled by PowerPoint that doesn't work. They can't even do their presentation. The thing is that the Bible says, let go and let God. Buddha talked about detachment. Anything that we hold on to will create gravity and drag you down. You got to let it go. Just let it go. Okay. I've been married 3 times. I'm not an expert in everything. 2 of my wives cheated with friends of mine. One of them got pregnant, and people go, how do you know it was his? Well, first, her and I would have had to have sex in order for it to happen, but everybody else was taking a turn. There was no room for me, Anyway, God bless them. Maybe my job was to bring them together, and they're still married. They got 3 kids now. God bless them. Maybe that was my job. There's people in wheelchairs who don't get a kiss. They don't get a shag. They don't get a dance. They don't get to play sports. I had 3 beautiful women, really stunning women, ask me out, have a relationship with me, everything that goes along with that, get married, the rest of those things. I'm just grateful. Just because it didn't last a lifetime doesn't mean that it failed. It just met its expiration date. So I learned to let it go. Just let it go and feel gratitude for it, appreciation. Because, by the way, as a spirit, we came down to have the human experience, which is all of it. The painful parts, the happy parts, all, imagine if your life was happy every day and you had no challenge. You'd be so bored out of your brain. You'd be doing crazy stuff just to get some excitement. It's all of it. I mean, I survived the helicopter crash and I didn't die. Well, I have a belief system now. Whenever I get challenged, I go, okay, you tried to take me off the planet with a helicopter crash and it failed. You bring it on. See, because our rewards are always in direct proportions to the challenges. So I welcome the challenge. I go, bring it on. I mean, something big's coming. Don't give me little tiny challenges. You bring it, because I'm a warrior. And by the way, it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a garden in the war. Is that I'm prepared. I'm peaceful. I live on a farm. My son knows that if something ever happened to him, there ain't nowhere that predator is going to go that I ain't going to come find you. Right? But I don't live that way with aggression. I just know that I have it when I need it. The rest of the time, I just let it go. It's funny when I get up every morning and I have my identity statements, my I am statements. And one of the very top ones is that I am at all times responsible for how I feel.
I like that.
Yeah, because you can change it in a second, right? If you feel sad, just smile. Your brain doesn't know the difference.
And skip. It's impossible to be in a bad mood if you skip.
Yeah.
If you try, it's like, but if you actually do it, not only that, when you skip, other people start smiling. So, it's like a spread. Even thinking, Chuck, you're smiling, thinking about yourself skipping because your brain pictures it. It's a physiology, a posture that when you skip like a child, it will literally change your emotional state immediately. I'll tell you guys a classic story. I'm on the radio. I'm on Triple J. I'm at the ABC studios in Brisbane. I don't know that the guy who's doing the show is kind of antagonistic towards me until I get on with him. And he says, okay, Kurek, we're going to surprise you. We're going to have some live callers and they got problems and we're going to see if you can fix them.
Mm-hmm.
I go, okay, yeah, bring it on. I'm good. So here's a woman. She's been on antidepressants for 25 years. And she's on the call. And I said, okay, ma'am. I said, are you in an apartment or a house? She goes, I'm in a Queenslander, which, by the way, for you Americans, that's like a big wooden house. And I said, oh, big house. You got a big living room then. Are you in the living room? She goes, yeah. And I said, are you on a corded phone or a cordless phone? And she said, I'm on a corded phone. I said, ma'am, on a scale of 1 to 20, 20 being the best, 1 being the worst, where are you as far as your emotions go? And she goes, I'm like a -8. And I go, okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to do 5 laps around your room, living room, skipping, and I want you to do circus music. We're on the radio, man. We can't say, I go, don't worry. We'll fill the time, bro, And so she puts on the phone, and because of the phone sitting in one place, you hear, she gets closer to the phone. She does her 5 laps. And I said, okay, ma'am, on a scale of 1 to 20, 20 being the best, 1 being the worst, where she goes, I'm at an 18. Oh my God, this is the most powerful thing ever. And I said, so what do you do now? She goes, I'm throwing my effing antidepressants away. I realize I can change this. And I said, so ma'am, you went from -8 to 18. What can you do? Just get a couple more points in there. She goes, I could put my shoulders back, but she goes, I'm like 25 now. God bless you, young man. And the announcer goes, I didn't see that one coming. Oh my God. This was the most powerful thing I've ever seen in my life. See, we all have that, but you got to be willing to do it. But again, most people won't even do it. But why? Here's the truth. Because you get more attention when you're in drama. Mm-hmm. Nobody comes up to you when you're happy going, okay, why are you so happy? But man, if you're in pain, tell me about it. Oh, poor you. Oh, that's tough. And they perceive that attention as being love, but it's not, because what happens is you have to get more and more drama because your old drama doesn't get the attention anymore. And so you're literally making your life worse and worse just to get the fake attention. By the way, now we have it called social media. Mm-hmm. People are on there, whining about their lives. And my husband, 25 years has abused me. After the first abuse, why don't you just leave? Because when you love yourself, love doesn't tolerate being abused. But when they do finally leave, and I'm not judging anybody, it just shows that you elevated your self-love finally. Because every issue we have in this lifetime is a self-love issue. You know, if you really love yourself, would you allow yourself to stay poor? Would you allow yourself to be depressed or abused? No, love doesn't operate that way or respond that way. Love wants you to have everything you want in life and everybody else, but not at the expense of you. You know, doing it, love yourself and do the skipping. Do the I am responsible for how I feel at all times. Do your, by the way, I've been doing this a long time, gentlemen, and I still read my goals and affirmations every day. I still read my I am statements every day. Even after the helicopter crash where Mike died in my arms, my best friend died in my arms, I'm using cocaine and smoking cigarettes and drink. But the funny thing is, I'm still doing my goals and affirmations every day because it was such a habit. And I believe that's what turned me around. After enough time, it was like a light that clicked in. And one day I go, I'm done. I am done. And you got to get to that place where you go, I'm done. I'm done being poor. I'm done being fat. I'm done being depressed. I'm done. And I cut a line with a broom pole in the sand in my backyard in California. And I said, like a samurai warrior, and I go, once I step over the line, I'm done. I gave up cocaine. I gave up cigarettes. I gave up alcohol abuse. I gave all my guns away. Not that just people wandering down the street. I gave them away to gun collector friends of mine. And I changed my life by making that decision.
Well, so how do you get people to get to that I'm done? Because I think that seems, I mean, I'm sure you come with love, right? I'm sure everyone you approach in your life, you come with love, because that's really the only way to get through to the sad people. But how do you get them to the point where they say like, because I see that with people all the time. I try to help people. It's like, I feel like I got to physically push them over the line almost. And then they fall back.
Yeah, great question, Joel. The thing is, instead of being a great statement giver, be a great question asker, be an effective question asker, because the quality of our life is determined by the quality of our communication. And the quality of our communication is determined by the quality of questions that we ask. By the way, it's biblical. Ask and it will be given, right? Not tell me and I'll go do what you told me to go do. That, by the way, our parents told us what to do, go do, and we didn't want to do that either. So as you get older, the last thing you want is somebody telling you what to do. So always ask questions that are focused on the outcome that you want, because then you have to answer it. And only ask loaded questions, not open-ended questions. So an open-ended question, Joel, is if I ask you, are you grateful? Well, you can say yes or no. Well, that gives me like a 60% chance that I'm going to get the answer I don't want, because sometimes people love their drama and they're just going to knee-jerk say no. But if I ask you, what are you grateful for? No doesn't answer it. And even if you don't verbally answer it, your brain still will. It can't not. It's the way it analyzes everything. So if I'll give you an example of this, Joel, and you got to answer with a yes or no response. You understand that?
Okay.
And before we do that, what's your favorite color, green or blue?
Neither.
Okay, but how were you supposed to answer it?
Yes or
What
no.
did you say? Did you say yes or no?
Yes. But see, the thing is, that's correct, because it doesn't answer the question. So when I asked you, what's your favorite color, what did you hear in your brain?
I heard.
Yes.
I heard
so
yellow.
it had nothing to do with how.
I heard
So
yellow.
yeah, so it had nothing to do with the yes or no, because yes or no doesn't answer the question. So as you know, I've been coaching for over 40 years. What makes me such a dynamic coach who get producing crazy results with people, like unbelievable results, is I don't know everything about everything, because that would be impossible. What I do know is how to find anything when I need to know it, and that's through effective question asking. And usually the client knows better than I do. I just know how to get it out of them by asking the questions.
Yeah.
So one of those might be, so when would now be a great time to take that action? And they go, now? And I go, great answer. So that question has a presupposition in it, which means it's a statement embedded in the question, and it sounds like a question. And if my head's doing this, they'll answer with a yes, which then locks it away as an affirmative in their filing system. So I go, so when would now be a good time to do that? And they go, yeah, now. And I go, that's a great answer, isn't it? See, that's a great answer, comma, isn't it? Question mark. It sounds like a question. They answered it. Now it sounds like it was their idea, not mine. I'll give you a great funny story about that. I get flown to Kuwait from Kuwaiti Petroleum. By the way, Kuwaiti Petroleum employs 97% of the entire population of the country. And the top 5 bosses for the 5 divisions of the company all bring me in to coach them individually. The top guy who runs the company, his office is like the size of a house. It's massive, right? And he calls me in. Now, by the way, I flew like 45 hours to get to Kuwait from Australia. And he says, Kurek, I got a nightmare on my hands, and I'd like your help on this. My grandson, I can't get him to take a bath. It's the biggest fight and struggle every night. How can I get my grandson to take a bath? You flew me from Australia,
Right.
for this? And he goes, I already know how to make the money, Kurek. Don't need that. And I said, he goes, but this would be a life changer for me. And I said, well, ask your grandson, what would have to happen in order for you to be really excited about taking a bath right now? Now, here are the presuppositions in it that you're going to be excited, but also is I'm asking him for his rules. And people operate through the rules because all conflicts in life are rules conflicts. So once I find out his rules, I actually know how to inspire or move him, influence him. And so the next day I get called to the office and he goes, Kurek, you are the most genius guy I ever met in my life. He goes, not only did my grandson run to the bathtub, he's asking me this morning as I'm leaving for work about taking a bath tonight, because it's all through effective question asking. Mm-hmm. And whenever I'm in sales, guys, like when you do corporate speaking like I do, a lot of times, they go, hey, we're looking at other speakers. We don't know who we're going, what kind of flavor we're going with just yet. We'll call you. And I go, okay, so what would have to happen in order if I am the right guy for your program? And they tell me their rules. I just literally meet each one of those rules. And I go, so now what do you think? They go, you know what? I think you are the right guy for our program and we don't need to see anybody else. I go, great answer. And my wife.
Can I ask you a quick question? What would have to happen for you to bring me on tour with you and get on the stage with you and help you?
Ask the question. It's that easy, Joel. See, the thing is,
yes, I went in.
The thing is that, a lot of times I say no to people because I want to see how they'll respond. I will tell you that Natalie Cook, my beach volleyball gold medalist, she wouldn't have taken no for an answer that day. I already knew she's a gold medalist because she won't take no for an answer. Sometimes athletes go, I heard Natalie's story. Will you coach me? And I go, no. And they go, okay, well, you've already lost. So it's like a sonar ping. I want to see how people respond. Joel, you have a great energy, man. I can hear your story and the way you participate. We're back up doing my workshops called Rewired, by the way. It's about rewiring your brain to have all this stuff in it, all the tools, so that when you leave, it's all completed. You don't have to go home and do stuff. It's already installed and completed within the 2-day program. And because my book's being turned into a movie, we're shooting the last 2 scenes of the movie in my live workshop, because at the very end of the movie, it's me on stage. First, it's the actor playing me, and then it's me, because you're going to see where this guy went from after the helicopter wreck to this ascension, and it's me, and we're shooting in front of a live audience, so we'll be filming, and it'd be awesome to have you there. For one's in Sydney, one's in Brisbane. So I guess the short answer would be is get on the plane. Australia. Yeah.
That's cool. That's kind of like they did that's exactly how they did the end of Wolf of Wall Street, right? I'm sure you've seen that, of course.
Yeah.
Right. Which was such a great wrap to that movie, to have Jordan up there.
Yeah, I'm not going to say based on a true story, because normally it almost never is. I want you to watch the movie and then start to go, is this a real story?
Right.
I think this is real. And then at the end of the movie, when you see the 5 guys in the photographs who died and the rest of those things, you'll realize this is a real story. And then you see me on stage, and that it's not based on a true story. It is the true story, because I lived it. I wrote the book, I wrote the movie, and I'm directing it. It is 100% true to the real life experience for all of us. And it's going to be one of those movies like Rocky, where you get out of your seat at the end and you throw your arms in the air and go, man, I can do anything. Because
so when are you shooting that?
We start shooting in April. I just raised
All right.
$20 million budget for my movie.
When are you
Yeah.
doing the Rewire workshop?
We're the Rewired. Well, we're starting in Sydney, and that's in both are in March, and then Brisbane. And then once we build what I call the cookie cutter, then we're going to start taking it international. So it's just because I'm working with a new team to get the systems down and everything, do it in 2 cities, and then start taking it international. But imagine what it's going to be like once the movie comes out, my workshops, book sales, the rest of those things, because it will, more than anything else, build my profile so I have more access to help people, because that's what I do. And that's, I really have no desire to go back to Hollywood and get caught up with a new Hollywood career. It's this movie, and that's probably it.
And that's what we do here too. I mean, that's the one thing that I know about these guys. Like, all we want to do is help the world be a better place. Anyone we come in contact with, whether we talk to them, email them, send them a text, be on a screen, letting them see us, that's what we're about. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing you're
And
doing.
it's a ripple. It's a ripple. As I was saying to Edward before the call, is I got a call yesterday from the guy who died in my arms, from his girlfriend from high school. Now, he died 35 years ago, and high school would be even earlier than that. That's just from this energy wave. And she said, "Sir, I don't want anything from you. I just needed to have some things complete. Mike and I were best friends. We almost got married. And I've been searching about the story. And man, I'm watching Instagram, and an interview with you comes up. And oh my God, it's him." And so I sent her a copy of my book. And it's one of those things is that, you don't have to be the guy on stage to do what you're talking about. I do it in my everyday life. I treat everybody with love and respect. And I during COVID, you go to a grocery store and you ask the person behind the deli counter, "Hey, how's your day?" And a girl bursts into tears. "Man, people are being so rude. You're the only person who even cares." I go, "I'm thrilled that you're here working to give me groceries. God bless you." Well, now I walk in, "Hey, Kurek, great to see you." "I know, have a most outstanding day." And I go, "That's right. That's right." See, because the Bible says, "In the beginning is the Word was with God, the Word was God," which means the words create our experience. So I call it transformational language. Use words to feel good, use charged words, and words that make you feel bad, use less intense words. Because if you use intense words, you feel intensely. So I used to answer my emails, "Have a great day." And I go, "How do you say that even more?" "Have a most excellent day." And people are like, "Bill and Ted's Adventure. It's awesome, dude." And I go, "How do you even say that even better?" "Have a most outstanding day." And it's on my outgoing message. And people call up my mobile phone just to hear my outgoing message to cheer them up. They go, "You got the best outgoing message ever. I'm going to use that. Sorry for stealing." I go, "No, but that's why I gave it to you." And that's what happens is, you change people. It was said that when Buddha or Jesus walked into a community, the entire community's consciousness would change just by their presence. And Jesus said, in red, in his own words in the Bible, says, "Even the least among you can do all that I have done and even greater things." Means we have all the same gifts, all the same tools. He said that. And so,
He said we can do better. He said
that's
we
what
can
he
do
said.
better. That's the amazing part for me. He didn't say you can do what I did. He said, "I'm God here on earth, and you can do better than I did."
That's
His
right.
words.
He said all the same or even better. That's right. And so I hold myself to that standard that everybody I come in contact with, they're going to be better, just because that's the intention that I have, that I'm putting out with everything I do. Everything, no matter what it is, because I am responsible at all times for how I feel. And people go, "Don't you ever have a bad day?" No, I might have a moment, but I'm not consuming a whole day to feeling bad over stuff I can't control. Like people cheating and ripping you off and, cutting you off in traffic and whatever. I mean, who cares?
They can keep it. Let them keep that 250 grand.
Mm-hmm.
They need it more than you, apparently.
And I've done way better since then. Because it gave me a belief system. If I can make that 250 grand, I can make more. I mean, I have 14 acres and, it's stunning, and Sunshine Coast of Australia. I've been here 28 years. Nobody has shot at me once. I can't say that about LA, but it's a whole different lifestyle. I got a son. He's 13 years old. He is by far the most successful best thing I've ever done in my life. And it was my mom dying of cancer in Chicago. I was with her in her last moment. She opened her eyes and said, "Have babies." I'm like, "Mom, now? You want to bother me about this again?" She goes, "Kurek, your brothers and your sister all have kids, but your energy, man, since you came out, you've always been different. I've always wanted to meet your kids." And I said, Mom, this time in the hospital with you made me ready. I had this conversation with myself. She goes, "Then have them." And I said, "I will." She goes, "Nope. I want to hear you say it. Because if you say those words, you keep your word." She goes, "I want to hear you say, 'I promise.'" She goes, "That's you, Kurek. It's your bond. You've always been that guy." And I go, "Checkmate, damn it." I go, "Okay. I promise, Mom." I go, "But you got to stay around and see him." She goes, "Don't piss me off. Just have him." I go, "Yes, ma'am." And she goes, "Now I want you to leave because I don't want you here." She closed her eyes, went to sleep, never gained consciousness. 2 weeks later, got my wife pregnant, one try. Knew it was my son because the one thing you do is don't piss off your mom. She's the toughest human being on the planet. You came out of your mom, man. Guys, if that kid came out of our butt, we would never eat solid food again. We'd be on a water diet. But man, the moment that mom makes eye contact with that baby who just did unbelievable damage and pain on the way out, goes to unconditional love in a millisecond. See, our moms taught us the most valuable lesson from the front, which is transformation. The experience to go beyond what you have now, that you can turn your most excruciating stuff in life to the most powerful through unconditional love.
Amen. That's beautiful.
That's why, man, guys win the Super Bowl. Dad got tackled. Dad took them to sports games. Dad threw the ball, and they win. They go, "Love your mom."
We're going to Disney.
Dad doesn't even get mentioned. Buddha said, "Be the change that you want to have happen," which means you got to just live it. Just be it. Be the light. Jesus talked about walking the light of the Lord. Buddha talked about enlightenment. They're saying the same thing. Be in your light. When you're light, you attract the attention. You attract life. Life is attracted to the light. By the way, we have a thing here in Queensland called the sun. People in Chicago have never seen it before. It's more people are out in the sunlight. Without the sun, there'd be no planet, there'd be no life. It's the light. Even when I escorted Mike after he passed away into the light, and it's bright, it's infinite. It's got no temperature to it. It doesn't make you squint, and yet it's so bright and so warm. There's no other way I can describe it. And I watched Mike become one with the light. And the last thing I saw is his smile in his eyes, as he became one with it. It's the light. Well, be the light. And when you're the light, you're going to get people to ask you. And when they ask you, they open their defensive doors. But if you tell them they close their defensive doors, they're not even hearing what you're saying. So my thing is get people to ask, because then they open the doors. Because when they ask for help, then you can give it to them. So my son, he plays basketball. He's 13. He's got a little bit of baby fat on him. And his mom, by the way, she's a wonderful lady, yet sometimes not so sensitive with her words, says, "Hey, the reason you're overweight is well, now you got called fat by your mom." That really rocked him, like devastated him. So he talks to me about it, and I go, "Buddy, that's not what she meant. This and that." By the way, it's a great lesson. You decide how you feel. By the way, you're going to see that not everybody treats you like your dad. If you get that lesson, I taught you wrong, because there's going to be people out there who are going to try to take a go at you. You got to let none of them bother you. Stallone always says you got to have crocodile skin, where people are chewing on you and you don't even feel it. Because if you're going to be successful in life, people are going to chew on you, and you got to be able to push through all that. I got him to the place, though, just through my being. And he says, "Dad, you're a great coach, aren't you?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Your rate is one of the best in the world." "Yeah." And he goes, "And they pay you a lot." "Yeah." "You probably help people lose weight, haven't you?" "Absolutely." He goes, "Then I want the whole coaching package from you. No holds barred. I want you to coach me." Game on. Mm-hmm. See, because now he asked me. Until then, it sounds like judgment. If I say, "I think you need that," it sounds like judgment. And that people are going to defend against that. So I get people to ask me for help by being the guy, being the positive guy, being the healthy guy, the rest of the stuff, whatever that is. And through my question asking and my skill set that entices people to ask the question, because then the defensive door is open. Now it's time to go to work.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So I guess if they're in limbo, they're not asking you, or they're not asking someone who can kind of veer them in that direction.
Well, Chuck, if you read the Bible, nothing's changed in 2,000 plus years. Some people get it. Most people don't. It's the 80-20 rule. It's the minority that changes the world. It's the majority that waits for it to be changed. That's a victim mentality. Now, it's not a judgment thing. They're just in their evolutionary cycle. That's just where they are. We're at a different cycle. That's okay. By the way, being a leader and being a follower, it's not better or worse. It's just different. By the way, there's challenges with being a leader. Like, for instance, when I'm having dark moments, who do I go to without disempowering a bunch of people? See, because I can get myself back up, but the people that you went to, they don't recover. They go, oh my God, if Kurek was in a dark place, I got no hope.
Yeah.
They don't understand. I'm just a person. I'm a guy. I go through, just as in a helicopter crash doesn't mean I get to get out of jail free card. That I've had more catastrophes in my life than most people. And I just think God keeps putting me through it so I get better seminar stories. I get updated content. It is what it is, but people's perception of me is that, man, that guy's bulletproof. So I got to watch what I say around people or how I act, because it can disempower people that they don't recover from it. Sly, I had lunch with him in his restaurant in Beverly Hills not too long ago. It's the same guys who've been around him for like 50 years. Same core group friends, his brother, John Hirschfeld, up until he just passed away. Frankie Pesh, who was in the Beverly Hills Cop movie. He's the guy in the truck with all the cigarettes, at the beginning of the movie. Frankie, I've done a few movies with him. He knew Sly before Sly was ever anybody. That's who Sly still has around him, because they're people who love Sly. By the way, one of Sly's very close friends is Henry Winkler, the Fonz. They were in Lords of Flatbush together. When Sly gets to L.A., his car breaks down. He's got his big dog, his bull mastiff. He calls Henry Winkler, who's now the Fonz, and Henry picks him up. When Sly writes Rocky, Henry gets the studios to buy the film, but they're going to have Burt Reynolds play Rocky Balboa, and he's like, I will crap on that script and eat it before that happens. They have to get the deal back from the studio so Sly can star in it. And then it's Henry who gets Sly an agent that winds up getting him the Rocky deal. But see, they trust each other. They can understand what it's like to be at that top position. That's why Sly and Arnold are such good friends. They understand what the pressures are like at that level. Because Sly says, you're reaching for the top. You get there. The air is very thin. It's very precarious. And you're by yourself. It's not what you think, to be at the top of the mountain.
It's lonely up there.
Lonely
Very
at the top.
lonely.
There it is.
Absolutely.
Kurek, the title of this episode is about lasting change. So obviously when people come to attend your workshops and seminars, there's a moment in their life where there's inspiration, they've got intention, they've got the best intentions to make the change. They're fire walking, like it's all rah-rah and it's all, this is going to be the moment of my life. But what backstops do you teach people to ensure they don't slip back once they go back to their normal life and work and family?
Well, that's my job, Edward. And the thing is, my job is not to teach content. My job is to facilitate real lasting change, because I know that's my outcome. That's what I produce. The vehicles that I use to get there, I will use every tool in the book. The easiest, though, so that for everybody listening to this call or watching it, is, you got to remember is that there's two poles that we have in our life. One of them pulls us towards it. One of us pushes away from us. This is perceived pain. This is perceived pleasure, right? Well, you want to use those both. So what we do is I get people to write down all of your fears, all of your doubts, all of your limiting beliefs, all of your disempowering habits. Then what have they cost you by having them? What have you missed out on? What relationships have you damaged? How much years of your life have you wasted? It starts to hurt. Then we go to what, really hurt, real pain, if you don't change right now, what's the worst case scenario your future is going to look like if you don't change? And I mean, if you want to quit smoking, think about seeing your kids in a hospital bed, dying of secondhand smoke cancer that you gave them, and you're trying to come up with an excuse why they're dying. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I've seen people in my workshops, as soon as they hear that one, take their cigarettes, throw them on the stage and go, I'm done. And they never smoke again because the picture's so ugly that they go, that's it. Nope, not one more time. So that perceived pain records in your brain as being real. And I call it the wedge of pain, where you want to, anytime you get close to it, you go, nope, 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 nope. See, it's like cocaine for me. I have such ugly pictures in my brain of cocaine that never would I ever, or cigarettes, I would never, ever even come close to them, even though there was a time that used to be my lifestyle for a couple of years after the crash, because I wasn't partying, by the way. I was trying to kill myself. Thank God I'm not a success at everything in life. Had a 357 in my mouth every night. I'm not even close to that guy anymore because I've created such a wedge of pain, such ugly images in my brain that your brain goes, that's it. Nope, never, ever, ever. And we need to do that with poverty, and we need to do that with dis-ease, and we need to do that with loneliness and depression, all this stuff where you go, that's it, I'm done. And then it's permanent because you have this wedge of pain that's pushing you towards that, and then you have this receiver that's magnetizing you towards it, which is your goals and dreams that you also write out. And the neat thing about my workshops is we do like a 20-minute writing down your goals. I call it the magic 10 minutes. I say no limitations. Write down the craziest, most wonderful stuff. Don't put timelines on it. Don't put any limitations on it. If you had the magic wand, what would you want to do or have or be, right? People write it down. I bump into them 10 years later, 20 years later. I go, I just found my notebook. I've done every single thing on there. That's crazy. And I go, crazy to you. Mm-hmm. No, I did that because I had nothing better else to talk about that day. I was just making shit up. It's, it's wiring the system that way. And by the way, guys, I don't hear that from one person. I hear that from thousands of people around the world that I bump into, and they go, oh my God, Kirk, everything I wrote down that day, I did. It's crazy. The beach volleyball girls, everything I talked to them about, they live every day. We just, by the way, we're in Sydney about 3 weeks ago. We just celebrated 25 years of having gold medals. And it was really wonderful to hear them talk about what I did for them, and how they really acknowledge that there'd be no way they have those gold medals without me, because I was the missing link to the whole game. And when the Prime Minister of Australia asked me, John Howard back then, he said, why would an American come take Australians? Why don't you work with the Americans? I go, because they didn't ask me. See, my job's not about countries. It's about people who ask me to fulfill their dreams, because that's what I do. Nation. K-I-O-N, when you see that in a word, it means the experience of. Trans means to go beyond. Form is what you have now. The experience to go beyond what you have right now. The transformer. By the way, I didn't come up with that. Somebody tagged me with that, and I go, that's pretty cool. I turn into a robot or a car or a jet.
Slow that down for me again. What's the acronym for that?
Oh, well, no, I study language, because remember, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your communication. The word is God. It's powerful. Words have power. So A-T-I-O-N, when you see that at the end of a word, Asian, that means the experience of. Trans means to go beyond. Form is what you have now, the form of your relationship, the form of your finances, the form of your physicalness. Transformation, the experience to go beyond what you have right now. By the way, Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is all past experiences, whether yours or somebody else's. A-T-I-O-N, the experience of what you consistently image. Imagination. See, everything new that was ever created started in somebody's imagination, and then they made it the experience of what they consistently see. That's where we were going with Edward. We talked about being a visionary. Yeah, all great achievers are visionaries, because we see it so long, so often, so detailed that for us it becomes real. Mm-hmm. Then other people get to see it. because then you can paint the picture for others to see. When you're going for your goals, emotional thoughts that get turned into actions produce results. The magic bullet that we need on that, because that's the formula for creation, is expectation. The experience of having what you expect to have happen. That's what turns that thought into motion, is expectation. Everybody's life getting what they're expecting. They wish really big, but they expect very little and they get what they expect. Raise your expectations on yourself and you'll live up to those expectations. That would be your self-image.
And those manifestations. You just
That's
totally
right.
changed that word in my brain.
Uh,
Yep, that's not imaginary anymore.
no, it's not.
People think of it as I'm imagining this thing that could happen. But really the way you broke it down is think it, make it happen. To me,
Intention.
that's how I
The
read it.
experience of what you intend to have happen happens. As you see, the word's all of power. And when you really understand the definition of it, you go, that wasn't an accident that however that word was created, because it's describing the experience. And that's why I love language. It's because it is power. Because, by the way, words are just thoughts that you're giving sounds to. Thoughts are an action. That's what people don't get. They think it's this fluffy, nebulous, formless thing. It's not. It's an activity. Energy is everywhere. It's omnipresent. The thought literally activates that energy to be on a certain frequency, because the thought's on the frequency. It turns it, well, whatever frequency we're on, you're going to receive what's on the frequency. You're in LA, you turn your radio to 102 point, you can see how old I am, turn your radio. My son goes, what is that, Dad? Never mind. We used to have knobs. But the thing is, you turn to 102.7, they give you the radio frequency. That's Kiss FM, Rick Dees in the morning, right? I can see how old I am. But if you don't like that station, we change the frequency. We know that. You don't smash your radio with a baseball bat going, radio doesn't work. You just change it. TV, they just shorten it for you. Channel 10, Channel 9, Channel 32, whatever that is. That's the frequency. Your mobile phone number is the frequency of your handset. Otherwise, you'd get everybody's calls. Mm-hmm. All those calls, all those radio stations, all those they're playing right now, but we don't have the receptors to receive it, because that's just not what we're here for. But our senses are so limited. I can only see certain light things or smell certain stuff. Or my dog can hear and smell things I can't. So as you see, the physical part is very limited, but that's not who we are. The powerful part of us is that thought, the formless part. It has access to everything in the universe, as it always had from before we were in the form. We were with the universe. We knew everything. So everything we learn is just an aha moment of what we already knew. That's why we go, that makes sense. We already knew it. We don't learn anything new. We just awaken to what we already knew.
And you're waking people up right now that are watching this. So
are you guys. I love you guys, man.
Happy birthday out there. You just got reborn. Thanks to Kurek.
About this frequency is that this is stuck in time too, which is fascinating. Not only is Ed in China, you're in Australia, Joel and I are on the East Coast of the United States, so we're time traveling right now, recording it, but now someone can have their life changed by listening to this, watching this, and then they can go back when it gets stuck again and let it happen again.
So many frequencies.
I would say that this recording, gentlemen, and God bless you guys, and you should really give yourselves a hug and a pat on the back, because you're facilitating all of this. This call is worth priceless to people, because everything that everybody's contributed on here, there is no workshop, there is no program that would have any more than this. The rest of it would just be process and facilitation of it. It's all on here. And what I used to do when I was, in a depressed state or broke or living in my car, is in those days we had cassette tapes, obviously, and I have to explain that to my son. What's a cassette tape? My son asked me, Dad, what was it like when everything was in black and white? No, it wasn't black and white. We just didn't have color film. He goes, I've seen the pictures. Like, you know what? You're right. Color came in the 70s. It was like when we woke up one day and we were surprised everything was in color. And he said, is it true that when you were young, tablets were made out of stone? Yes, I'm Fred Flintstone, and we chiseled Google. And he goes, really? And I go, no, there was no Google either. And he goes, see, now I know you're lying. But I used to listen to one cassette tape out of like 8 cassette program for 30 days nonstop. Now we were in LA, you're in the car a lot, over and over, because it's called consistent spaced repetition. It's not about learning, it's about mastering it. It's about speaking that way, thinking that way, that they become your thoughts, that you adopt them as your own. That's why, people go, God, how do you know all these quotes and all this stuff? I don't know how not to do it. It's, it's so me. And people go, man, you sound like Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, deep. I go, thank you. Because I've spent time with all those people. I've friends with a lot of them. I knew Wayne Dyer really well until he passed away. One time, Tony Robbins brought me down to San Diego to work with one of his clients, and he got me in a hotel. I come downstairs. There he is talking to Deepak Chopra, Ageless Body, Timeless Mind. I'm in I got this cheese-eating grin on my face, and Deepak says, Kurek, why are you smiling so much? I go, I'm here with Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra. I said, the only thing that can make this better is if Wayne Dyer was here. Elevator walks up and Wayne Dyer steps out. He goes, oh yeah, he's filling in a clinic for us today. And I'm like, kill me right now, man. I'm in heaven. I'm in awe that I've been able to be at the frequency to be, Sly when I was homeless and he didn't have me up at his house for Christmas. Elton John's on the piano for 3 hours. And people come up and they go, why do you have Kurek here? He's homeless. He's the loser. And he goes, I go, right here. I can hear you. And they go, I don't care. And Sly goes, you got no idea who this kid is. In his head, he already is a success. And it's just a matter of time that his results will catch up with his mindset. He saw something in me. Mm-hmm. And he said, Kurek, you never held us back. You were this crazy guy that was driven to be successful, to make something of yourself. And you ran into brick walls, but you would bounce off and you would look for another path, but you were not going to be denied. And you said what all of us say, which is, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it anyways, which frees us of the how. It's just a decision that I'm still going. I don't care what you put in front of me. I'm going through it, around it, over it. I don't care, but I am going to be who I need to be and who I want to be. It's all in this recording, gentlemen, and you should all be hugging yourselves and each other. And anytime you guys want me back, I'd be honored. And anything I can do to support you guys, including sending this out to everybody on my list and email and stuff, it'd be valuable because you guys are the bomb, man. It's one of the best podcasts I've ever done. And thank you, Edward, for reaching out after all these years, man. And I love how much you retained from that program. That's detailed. See, when you talk about the marker, my marker bag, I know exactly which workshop you're talking about now because I remember those things. They highlight for me. But instead of throwing a pissy fit that my things weren't working, I just go, hey, I'm excited. I got the use out of them. They all worked. I used them until they were dry, and I could literally pull out of my thing right next to my desk here, my new bag of markers.
Yeah, as I said, when you were writing and it didn't work, there was a moment where you paused. It may have only been 1.5 seconds, but for someone like me, that moment for me felt like 15 minutes. I'm like, holy shit, what's he going to do now? Oh my God, the pen's not working. Oh shit, like he must be stressing. But you just paused through, just like tossed, like flicked it away. And then the next one, like we always say people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And I just remember how I was feeling at that moment as well. And the message that I was getting from that simple thing.
Right.
When you showed up in my feed on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn can be weird. Like sometimes you can see the same person for many, many days and then you don't see them for 5 years. I think the last time I saw you on LinkedIn was probably 15 years ago. I don't even know if it was that long ago, but like, let's say 10 years ago. And then just recently started to pop up. I'm like, fuck yeah, Kurek Ashley. And then all of these memories came flooding back, like that workshop and my feeling. And I'm not kidding you. Like it lit a fire in me that inspired me to do what I'm doing now as well. Like I'm living in China, dude. Like how the hell does a person from the Gold Coast end up living in China and making an incredible life for themselves? So there's a lot of lessons learned from that. So it's absolutely our pleasure to have you on the podcast.
So people, I speak at networking breakfasts and they go, how did they get you here? I go, they asked. They go, why would you say yes? because I'm always polishing my craft. A master is not judged by the size of the crowds. I've done speaking engagements where 100 people were supposed to show up and one person showed up. And the guy says, I know you're going to cancel. I said, no, you might want to sit in the second row because I'm kind of high energy, but I did a full 2-hour presentation. The guy cried. He couldn't believe I would pull it off. You know, Edward, the thing with the markers is that, pardon my language, everybody, but we all go through the same shit. Everybody's got fear. Everybody's got doubt. Everybody's got insecurity. Everybody's got stuff that doesn't work out. The key is not getting rid of it. It's about managing it. The only difference between successful people and the masses is, because we all go through the same stuff, is that we learn how to manage how we think and feel differently. So that moment when it's not working, I just manage that for a moment, because my frustration is I'm a professional. I should have tested my markers before I get up here. But if I lose it over a marker, everything I teach is bullshit. It's all crap. I'm just another phony out there, you know, who's teaching one thing and doesn't live it. That moment that you saw, though, is the transformational moment for people, because they go, "Ooh, he didn't react." And they, as you see, 20 years later, you're still remembering that moment. I'm not doing it for that purpose. I'm doing it for myself, to manage it and go, you know, like when I first heard I got ripped off for $250,000, I didn't cartwheel down the street. You know, you start to feel it. You want to kill the person. You want to, you know, sue and all the rest of the stuff. And I go, what's great about this? See, there's a management tool. One of my most powerful questions ever. What's great about this? Because that's what changed me from the helicopter crash, is I asked myself, what's great about the crash? And that's a crazy question, because you go, why would you think there's something great about 5 of your friends dying and the horror that you went through? And I said, you got to come up with an answer. And I said, I was there. I was there, and my friends weren't alone. And my friend died in my arms, not in a stranger's arms. And all the care that was given to my friends was given to him because I was one of those people, but I witnessed a lot of other people risking themselves too. That I saved 2 people's lives that day. It's funny, when you get caught up in your drama, you forget to mention that part. Oh, and there's one more thing. I lived. And because I lived, I made a promise to Mike before I escorted him into the light that I was going to dedicate my life to making a positive change on the planet in honor of their deaths. And I would not let it stand that they would just die in vain, that I'm going to do something. And that's what I've dedicated my whole life to. And I live it every day.
Wow.
That's what's great about it. When my dad died, I didn't make it home in time because I was on TV on the Sunrise show in Sydney. Had cancer. I knew I had lots of time. I didn't. And so I got called from a hospice nurse. They said, your dad's going to die tonight. I said, no, ma'am. I talked to him 6 hours ago. He's fine. You know, she said, sure, he's going to die. I said, well, let me talk to him. She goes, he's too weak. I said, he doesn't need to speak. I just need to talk to him. Put the phone next to her. Says, Dad, it's me. I will always love you. I will always make you proud. Don't suffer, and go to peace. My dad smiled, closed his eyes, went to sleep, and passed away. What's great about this? I had that last conversation with my dad. I didn't get to see my dad sick, so I always have this picture of my dad being my dad. I had those last words with him. My dad didn't suffer. My dad took me out of the will. Well, what's great about that? My dad knew I'm a success. I don't need his money. It's the biggest honor and compliment there is. Plus, he went to the grave knowing he did a great job with his son. Awesome. What's great about this will instantly change your state. Because whatever situation, remember, there's no truth. There's only an interpretation or perception. So what's great about this takes it and puts it into positive perception. So yes, I pretty much have a system for everything.
Most people, when they're facing a particular challenge, they will say to themselves, how can I turn this into a positive? Which means they've already given themselves an out, that there may be a negative. But what you said just there is what's great about this. That means there's only one possible way to answer that, is to look for the great thing in that. That was really powerful.
And no buts. No buts, because but erases everything that comes before the word but. I really think your show is great, but, and everybody's like, but what? Watch Jerry Springer, you know? I really love you. I would never hurt you, but what?
With your brother.
Basically says I don't love you and I'm about to hurt you on international TV, right? Mm-hmm. No buts. The word, if you want to use it, would be and. And means in addition to. So I really love your show, and I love this, or and, you know, I'll be on your show whenever you want me to. So it means in addition to. People misuse the word but. it takes away everything that you said. Instead, going, what's great about this? Well, as you see, Mike was in my lap. I'm giving him CPR. He's in really bad shape. He's horrifically burned. And that last moment, he opened his eyes and looked at me and said goodbye. And I knew exactly what he was doing, and I knew I couldn't get him back again. I brought him back 5 times in the car with CPR. I mean, I'm giving him CPR and mouth to mouth at the same time as he's in my lap. And for me to be there for that moment, it's priceless. And instead of me wondering what happened and wondering was care given to him and all that stuff that, I don't have any doubt. And then knowing where he is now, that I escorted him, that he made me keep a promise. And I said, but dude, I was with you to the end. He goes, you tell me your promise has an expiration date. You are not pulling that on me. And he goes, I need your help to see my fiance. You get that you're dead, Mike. And he goes, but how many people my book and my story has given them permission to have their experiences with people who've passed on where they don't think they're insane anymore, including my biology teacher from high school who called me and said, because of your book, I was going through a stressful thing. And my dad, who passed away years ago, called me and said, Jim, you're going to be okay. And blah, blah. We had a 15-minute conversation. And he said, because of your book and your story, Kurek, it made me okay to have that conversation and know that I'm not nuts. See, because what we think is real, this isn't as real as you think it is either. Every thought you have biochemically changes your body. So it's not as real and solid as you think it is. And by the way, since energy can't be destroyed or created, you can't be destroyed. It just transforms. It just changes form. But it doesn't make sense that the universe would have you love and feel and grow and experience, and then you throw it away to ashes, dust to dust. It makes no sense. Not even religiously would I believe that true. It doesn't make any sense. The universe wastes nothing. A tree dies in a forest, it fertilizes every other tree. Plants, animals, birds, bugs, everything. Nothing's wasted. So why would you love music and love your children and love your partner and love yourself and create, symphonies and all this stuff and then it's thrown away? That sounds ridiculous.
I concur 100%.
Joel, do you want to share your big takeaways from today?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had so many, and we've talked about paradigm shifts on the show before, and it's like the faster I ascend in life, it's like the faster the paradigms can shift, like in a matter of seconds in a conversation. And you were talking about words, and there's so many things that you've said that I've had these thoughts recently, even talking about that, timelines merging. I wasn't going to be on the podcast tonight. I've been so busy. I haven't been on here in months. And something jumped out. I don't even know why I even looked at the email about this episode, but I do know why. I mean, there's no coincidences. I feel like everything is planned. I think we're living out a script. And I feel like I'm talking to one of the chosen ones right now. The chosen ones that God has selected to say, okay, look, it's time to fix this place. I don't need to send my one son down there this time. I'm gonna wake a bunch of them up simultaneously, and they're gonna change this place. So I feel God in the room right here, right now, loving me and loving you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. And Chuck?
Kurek, to say that you have moved me is an understatement. I know I could probably speak just reading body language here for the other gentleman too. Consistent space repetition. I am going to listen to this to get consistent space repetition because so many times I've listened, watched, read things, and I'm like, oh man, I just want to speak like that. Abraham Lincoln, that movie, I'm like, oh, I just want to speak in questions and prophecies. And I just want to, if I could just communicate without having to communicate, that would be awesome. So I am going to take that to heart and I am going to learn how to speak as Abraham Lincoln or as Mr. Kurek himself. But one of the things that I really loved what you said was the question to ask yourself all the time. What's great about this? I rewind and the thought that came to mind here, I'm so appreciative of myself because I thought that question. I may not have thought it the day of. I may not have thought it the week after. But when I got diagnosed with cancer, there's so many negative thoughts that came from that come from being diagnosed with the disease. And thankfully for me, right, what's great about it is it was thyroid cancer and can get the thyroid out. what's great about it is it led me down this path of all these amazing things I've learned about my body, about my mind, about my soul, about my friends, about my family, about life, that have made me love life and love everybody else in my life 10 times stronger and 10 times better. I have better intention with every single thing that I do every single day because I'm still here and I'm still appreciative that I'm still here. And that little pause of crap, I'm sitting in front of a doctor and you're telling me I have cancer. That's PTSD. I understand PTSD a little bit from that because I have those moments sometimes, not anymore, but before I realized what's great about this, I would say had those moments. And anytime I was afraid of it coming back, because it came back this year, I had a second surgery this year. And, the fear is just not a place to be. It's not a vibration I'd like to be in. So thank you for giving it a question, for giving it a system, because it took me maybe a week, 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks to get to that point where I'm like, let me find a positive out of this. And I'm happy that I did it, but I am now going to do it right away. It's going to be that marker that doesn't work instantly, because this isn't going to be the first obstacle. I should say the last obstacle that I'm going to go up against. And I absolutely love that tool to help me get through it, to help me find the best out of it, because it's only going to, the obstacles are actually every single opportunity. If we look back at all the things that we've achieved in our lives or have said that that was an amazing experience, likely right before that was a crazy, terrible obstacle or just an obstacle that we were stressed out about. So there's always that on the other side. And you just put it in such great words with such amazing systems that I just can't wait to listen to this again. When I find my way over to Australia and Sydney to go to your workshop, that would be an absolute bucket list at this point.
And come stay at the
With
farm.
me.
Love that.
With me.
Like I'm really guided to tell you is that you got to quit fighting the cancer. Instead, love it, right? Love heals all. And so the guy with the Tourette syndrome, he told me how long he's been fighting it and whatever. And I said, well, don't fight it anymore. Love it. I said, if fighting hasn't gotten rid of it, it never will. Cause and effect. Instead, love it. Thank it for everything it tried to teach you and say, I choose to live my life without you anymore. I also have some homework for you, and that is for the next 30 days, every morning and every night, you go 30 seconds in the mirror, and you got to look eye to eye with that guy, and you got to convince him how much you love him. You got to not tell him, you got to convince him, you got to sell it to him, because it's going to flush the toxins out of your body. The Egyptians said the eyes are the windows to the soul. So you're sending love out, and it's going to come back, and it's going to be pumping toxins out, and you're going to refill yourself with love, because every issue we have in this lifetime is a self-love issue. The cancer is a completely healthy cell. It's just not on frequency with the host. It's on the same frequency of health. It's just the other end of the spectrum. So that's why you got to fill yourself back up with love, because you've been taking life a little stressful. And any uncomfortable feeling we have in this lifetime is a call to action to do something different. It's like the warning light on your dashboard saying, check the oil. Well, put oil and the light goes out. The cancer is trying to tell you you've been off on frequency. It's trying to teach you to do something differently, because everything that happens in the universe has a positive intention attached to it. It's trying to get us to evolve. So it's working perfectly. We're just misinterpreting the signal. So you owe mirror work every day, every morning and every night for 30 seconds. And by the way, I'm the best lie detector on the planet. If you're going to tell me you're doing it and you're not, I'll know it.
It's amazing. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
For our listeners and viewers, you can join the Masters of Wellness community on LinkedIn, subscribe to our Masters of Wellness newsletter, and you can connect with Kurek at kurekashley.com. You can also find Kurek at Instagram and Facebook. That's at Kurek Ashley. What's your biggest transformation story or question for Kurek? Share it with us. And as Kurek said, he will always respond. Today, we learned that transformation is possible for everyone if you're willing to commit and take action. Please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Share this episode with someone who's ready for change. Kurek, your final words of love to the world.
It's one of my little Kurekisms, guys, and that is in order to fly, you have to let go of the world that you're hanging on to. Is you got to learn to let go. Just let it go, because the biggest, most majestic eagle, he's hanging on to the top of the mountain. I don't care if it's Everest, and he's flapping his wings. He's not going anywhere. You got to let go of that mountain to fly. And anywhere you want to go, you're going to have to let go of your old world to soar to the heights that you want to go to. That means your old conditions and patterns, your belief systems, you got to let it go, because all the new stuff's got to be put in, and you got to let go of some of the old stuff. And as Ricky Nelson, the late, great Ricky Nelson said to me when I was 15 years old, he said, "Kid, never give up on your dreams, because when you do, you die. You'll be like the rest of the zombies out there who are just walking around waiting to be buried." He said, "Never give up on your dreams when you die." And he died a couple years after that in a plane crash. And 18 years after meeting him, his twin sons, Gunnar and Matthew, asked me to manage them, and I took them to quadruple platinum. So I got to repay my debt to Ricky Nelson for being such a great inspiration to me.
Wow.
Wow. I have just manifested a future moment in time when the four of us are together in real life in a huddle together
Yes.
and remembering this moment that's going to come in the future. Thank you
Deal.
so
And
much.
I got one thing for you, Edward.
Yeah.
Well, I need.
Well, I need.
It means I love you guys.
It means
in
I love you.
Chinese.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much.